Hello, my name is Lee Pierce. We're going to go over a demo of how to use Docker to make a basic web app. So first thing I want you to do is stop the recording and go to this URL, this GitHub, Lee Frank Pierce, Docker _ training, and go into this path. And when you get in there, I want you to go and click on Notes. This is essentially the instructions we're going to be following. So what I have in the windows behind here is two windows on the same server. This is running CentOS, which is a version of Red Hat. So I've installed that. I have already installed Docker using the yum command as shown here. I have already installed Git. So the next thing we're going to do is do a git clone to copy my demo files here. That's essentially going to copy all the files that are in this same Docker in this GitHub website. So we're going to do a git. So it downloads it, and you can see in Docker training. And then under there, cd in the CentOS, and you'll see the notes file. Okay, so this is what I just showed you on this website. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of the way. And so we are now to the point of actually running a Docker build. Now when this Docker build runs, it's going to look at this Docker file. So we're going to talk about this Docker file while this is running. If you notice, the Docker build command has an RM, which means clean up after yourself, and then it has a name to call the Docker image when we're done, and dot means out of this current directory. So we're going to copy that and run it and let that be running. So the first thing it's doing is it's using this from command. The from command tells it to go out and find this particular Docker image to run from. In this case, I'm telling it to go get the operating system of CentOS that Docker provides. You notice I didn't say Docker. It just assumes if you didn't give it a URL that it's going to Docker's website. So this is Docker's website. If you hit Explore, you can see lots of images they provide out here. In particular, if we click on operating system, I'm going after CentOS. If we click on CentOS and go to tags, we can see what versions are available. So the tags basically refer to a version. So what I've told it to do is specifically go get CentOS that is tagged with CentOS 7. So if I look down my tags, there is a 7 in here, this one. So it's gone and got this particular file and downloaded it. That is what this from is for. So all Docker images are based on an OS of some kind. I prefer CentOS because I'm more familiar with it. The difference is that the CentOS that runs in Docker has been stripped of having to worry about any of the hardware or of the IP stack. It does have ports for networking, but we'll discuss that in a second. So the next thing is really just taking a note that it will put on the container that gets built. The next command is installing Java JDK. So essentially you put the word run and any command that you would normally do in whatever OS you've worked on. In my case, since I'm using CentOS, yum is the package manager. I'm also going to install wget so that I can use wget here later on in this particular command. So I'm going to change to the op directory, do a wget of Tomcat, then I'm going to unzip it, untar it, remove the old tar file, then I'm going to copy my application, which is in the files that you downloaded, to the application directory for Tomcat. That is pretty much all that's done to prepare the image, and then the system will basically exit and leave you an image you can run. These two commands are how you tell the system what to do when you start the Docker image. So it will cd to this directory, and then it will run this command to start the Tomcat program. So catalina.sh with the option of run is how it starts that particular, starts Tomcat. So Docker itself kind of is an environment. You access Docker by running Docker. You saw me do a Docker build. Okay, so Docker build is running over here. Once the image is built, we do Docker run, and then we can give it some parameters. A name so we can find it running within the Docker containers. This is how we do a port address translation. So this CentOS Tomcat the Tomcat will be running on port 8080, but I am actually mapping in 8888 to the 8080. So it will take the outside operating system's 8888 and it will remap it to what's running inside Docker at port 8080. So this is what my URL will be when I try to access it, and it will map it to this 8080 inside of that particular container. That way, if I wanted to say run an 8889 here and then map it to 8080 for a second image to run, it wouldn't be any problem, because this is where you prevent the collisions. This is the port that shows up in the host operating system, not within Docker. This is the where the Docker is running. So once that runs, this is the example of how to hit the particular Java app that we're going to fire up. So localhost is your own IP. 8888 is the port that I am grabbing to map to within Docker. And then this is the path of where my app is that's installed within the Tomcat. If you're building on a box that's not your desktop, then you'll actually run something like this, but obviously using the IP. This is the IP of the host I'm running on now. So let's see how we're doing over here. Okay, so we've installed. Now let's see what our Docker file had in it. Okay, so we've installed Java, we're installing wget, now we've changed to the opt, now we're doing this wget, we're actually downloading the Tomcat. Okay, now we're unzipping it, so just like you do in a normal OS. Now we're untarring it, removing the tar, and then did our copy. So here's our copy. So what we expect to see in lead.js, That's a little JavaScript, which just basically gives you a web page so you can click on things and see my images. So now, if I want to see what was created, I can do a Docker image ls, and we can see that it not only has the CentOS that it downloaded, but the Docker image we created in the Docker build command. See, here's the Docker build command, and here's the name of the image. The colon separates the image name and the tag. So here's my tag. So in order to run this, we're going to look at my notes and do the Docker run. So that's firing up. Then I'm going to be able to hit my website. So that is actually what's running in that container. And I mentioned there was click things where you can make some changes. So here's a picture of one of my dogs and a picture of the other dog. And that's really all there is to get this thing rolling. Other things we can do is Docker PS for what's running. And you can see that it's listening to all IP on port 8888, and when it sees that, it'll redirect it to 8080 with inside. You can also see the container name is dog. Thank you.